The Existential Crisis Hotline. The Existential Crisis Hotline. The Existential Crisis Hotline. The Existential Crisis Hotline. The Existential Crisis Hotline.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Existential Crisis Hotline. And if one existential crisis in the world isn't enough, we've got another one. So I'm going to talk about that tonight. I promised I wouldn't talk about the Mormons anymore, and I won't, except for just in this moment right now. But that fire is still just a raging online, but it's about to be eclipsed. Well, it's kind of been eclipsed a little bit, although it's still kind of in the background. And of course, I'm just talking about my algorithm. I don't know what your algorithm looks like, but the other big debate going on right now, which we're going to talk about tonight, is Anthropic, which makes Claude AI, has released their latest model, Fable 5 or something like that. I don't know. It's a weird name. But people are not too happy. And so I'll kind of get into why. I don't quite, I get it, but it still doesn't really make sense. It looks very much like Mormons versus Christians kind of situation. That's basically what it is. And I'm just seeing, it's just these fights between different groups that have different opinions, and they can't really understand where the other one's coming from. So just the other side looks like totally evil and, the worst thing ever. So now Anthropic is the worst company ever on the planet, apparently, which is kind of weird. It's a little weird considering the XAI, or I guess it's SpaceX technically. The IPO is like soon. When is it? Let me check it out. I'm gonna play some fun things to get started in a second, but I got sidetracked. SpaceX IPO is, when is it? When is it? 2 days. That was 20 hours ago. June 12th. Okay, I thought it was tomorrow, but I guess it's the 12th. So there you go. So it just seems a little weird that suddenly Anthropic's the worst company ever on the planet. Although they did just release a new model, so that's on them, I guess. But it's all kind of weird, dramatic stuff online. But there's something to it, so I want to explore that a little bit. But before I do, I want to show you two videos. One's kind of funny, one's kind of weird, and they're both basically about AI as well, although they're not per se relevant to the Anthropic thing. So let's actually start off with that, and then we'll get into the Anthropic stuff. Okay, so I just thought this was pretty... It's not honestly that funny, but it's funny. And at the same time, as you watch it, I think it's actually realistic. I'm not saying this is what they're saying here is actually going to happen in 2037. Well, 2037. Oh, that's at 2027. 2037. Yeah, I could see it happening by then. But just tell me what you think. Like, does this seem like practically realistic? It made me think of the Philip K. Dick novel, The Penultimate Truth. Okay, so let's jump into it. Hey, Sandra. Yeah, and Anthropic is pure evil? Can't be. Yeah, it's called Anthropic. How can it be bad? Yeah, and they just teamed up with the Catholics. That is weird, right? Now suddenly, like, they're like the evil ones, but evil from the perspective of the people who want unrestricted AI. Although there's contradictions in that too, so it's kind of weird. Anyways, let's play this first, just to start off on a light foot.
After the votes were cast on election night 2036, Americans woke up to a historic result. An incumbent president had been defeated, and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez had been elected the 50th president of the United States. But in the weeks since her inauguration, Attention has shifted from the outcome of the election to the way she campaigned and to what it may mean for her administration. It's a
Hold on a second. Did I miss something here? Let me go back.
inauguration. An incumbent president had been defeated. 1966, Americans woke up to a historic result. An incumbent
Oh, okay. He said incumbent. Like, my imagination was that he said Trump. I just thought it was a funny joke that Trump would still be in office by then, but okay, sorry about that.
outcome of the election to the way she campaigned and to what it may mean for her administration. It's a sign of the times. Ocasio-Cortez is the first president to govern with the help of AI avatar technology. Her campaign called it the future of political communication. Her critics called it something else.
That's why my
Throughout
administration
American
is working to
history,
advance
presidents
the
have
first
always
tax
found new ways to
Billionaires
speak directly
are
to the
failure.
public.
The days of the
FDR used the radio to sell Americans on his policies.
The vice president and I
JFK appeared to television audiences as more youthful and dynamic than his opponent.
any chance of federal control.
Obama used social media to turbocharge his get out the vote operation.
So I have many
Trump
millions of
bypassed
followers
traditional
across
news media
various
and tweeted
accounts.
directly to his followers.
You reach more people than any television broadcast network by far.
And now President AOC is making the latest media shift from live streams to generative telepresence.
Can we see the avatar?
Of course. Hello, Anderson. It's good to talk to you again. It's been a while.
I've talked to you before, but I don't think I've talked to you before.
The president is no stranger to connecting with her constituents through a screen.
This Instagram live black bean soup.
As a young congresswoman, she built
It said, can you help cook up some equality?
a following over Instagram Live, explaining the finer points of legislation while cooking dinner.
Hello, everyone. Your check is not worth your life.
In her bid for the White House, her campaign drew massive rallies, but they also reached voters one at a time, everywhere the candidate herself couldn't be. Frank Morales talks to the president's avatar almost every day.
But, you know, it's not really her.
Of course. I know.
And that doesn't matter?
Not really, no. I tell her what I think she's getting wrong. We go back and forth. Then eventually I see the real AOC out there talking about those exact things. So somebody's listening.
He isn't alone. Millions of people built the same habit. For Claire Whitaker,
I can just totally see in the future a president having an AI avatar that you can talk to. Like, can you imagine that? Like, it doesn't seem that, it's obviously kind of silly the way they're presenting it, but I could totally see this happening. You know, I don't know if it would be AOC that would do it necessarily, but I could totally see this happening in the future where it's like you talk to the AI version of the person and then it like develops a relationship with you.
and her daughter Emma, the avatar has become a regular part of the household.
She loves talking to her.
Hi, Emma.
I put her on the TV in the mornings when we're getting ready for school.
Do you like my drawing?
It's wonderful, Emma. You're getting so good.
3, 4, well, not even that many. 2, 3 generations from now, you could imagine this happening where it's like, imagine the kids right now growing up with AI, another generation. And because like right now it's like, well, we know it's not really her, but we grew up in a world of there's like real people and there's AI, and AI is not very good. Versus like the kids today growing up with a cell phone, with a smartphone. Like when I was growing up, we didn't even have smartphones. So I remember the contrast between the two. But imagine you're growing up in a world where the AI is really good at mimicking humans, talking to you. It's like perfected basically. And something like this would definitely be possible, and it probably nobody would even blink an eye.
Good.
Really? Thank you.
Yes, keep practicing.
To Emma, the president has always been someone you can talk to, but not everyone who talks to her is a believer. Ray Decker didn't vote for her, but he still talks to the avatar regularly.
You're not a supporter.
I think the whole thing's a gimmick.
This guy has some crazy tools on his, what is that stuff called? I forget what they call that stuff. Damn, I just can't remember the name. That weird board with the holes on it. He's got some interesting tools I've never seen before. What is that thing? Oh, you can't see what I'm pointing at. I gotta do my little trick. Oh yeah, I gotta go here. And then, what is this thing right there? Wait, here we go. Oh, what is that? Looks like one of those things the gynecologists use. You know what I'm talking about? Like this, yeah. And then, I don't even know what any of that is, but this guy's definitely doing some work over here on the table. Or is that the back of his truck? I don't know.
Clearly,
You're not a supporter.
I think the whole thing's a gimmick. But, you know, if I need someone to help me with my VA claims, this thing actually listens to me.
Dude. Again, I know this is totally satire, but you can imagine that. Imagine in the future, you talk to an avatar, it's an AI, and it helps you with whatever you want, like in the government. Like you, instead of calling a number, you just get on the government AI, and it's President Trump if you like Trump, or it's somebody else if you like somebody else, I guess. It'll be whoever you like. Man, you could totally see the Democrats and Republicans like actually collaborating on something like that. Because you know they're just playing both sides. So you'd have like the Republican one and then the Democrat one. So even if your party's not in power, the Democrat one will help you out. Man, it's crazy.
My congressman never picked up the phone.
So you keep using it.
I argue with it mostly. Tell her I don't want socialism in this country. Thing is, it is nice to have someone to talk to.
to understand how the avatar actually worked, I went to see Memo Rivera, who helped build it during the campaign.
It's interactive now. That's the difference. Every conversation is data. Somebody tells her they're worried about rent, their kid's school, their hours getting cut. The system hears it millions of times a day. It learns what people actually care about faster than any poll could.
And the president sees that.
She sees the shape of it, what's rising, what's falling, where the country's head is at in real time. You can stop guessing what voters want.
The campaign didn't have to poll the public. The public was telling it everything, one conversation at a time.
Some people would hear that and think surveillance.
Some people would, but this is all voluntary. We think of it as a participatory form of representation. This is polling, political advertising, town halls, all rolled into one. And it can be with the voters, the constituents, wherever they are, whenever they want.
The president has been a critic of this kind of technology in the past. That must have been quite an interesting conversation bringing her on board.
You could see where things were headed. The writing was on the wall. People don't talk to pollsters anymore. They hate negative ads, and that's all anyone ever sees. They feel powerless. The avatar gives them a voice.
How do you square your current usage of AI with your previous positions on big tech and data centers?
We fought for meaningful public input on new construction. We fought for privacy protections, and now we're fighting for public ownership. People want a stake in all this growth. Having the most valuable companies in the world doesn't mean anything if people don't directly benefit from it.
So the energy, the environment.
We've got to be doing more. Privatization of infrastructure has left us with generations of disinvestment in the grid. So we're fighting for public ownership, and we're investing in clean energy. We know this is what people want. We hear it from millions of people every day.
Your policies track ahead of the polls. You seem to know what people want before they do. And I believe you've got the data to back that up.
We do.
But if this is all what you've learned through the AI's interactions, how do we know this isn't just leading the witness? Push polling 2.0.
It's a conversation every step of the way. And ultimately, I'm still responsible. I am the commander-in-chief. The avatar is just another way to talk to people.
Damn. It actually sounded completely realistic. Wow. You could totally see that happening. And even the objection of like, well, it's like you are just surveilling people and you already know what they're thinking. Like, what do you think polling is? Like, politics is already like that. Okay, so that was interesting. I got one more video for you, and then I'm going to go through some tweets about the Anthropic thing. But I saw some random tweet about this guy because apparently Trump pardoned him, and I don't know why. Like, I'm not really sure why the guy was, I guess, I don't know if it was convicted or in jail or what, but apparently Trump just pardoned this guy, is what I heard. So I had to look it up because they said he created an AI church, and I was like, what? So I found this video. I haven't seen the whole thing yet, but I started watching the beginning, and it looked interesting. So I was like, we'll save it for the stream. So this guy, Anthony Lewandowski.
People don't know that you started the Way of the Future Church. Why don't you tell us a little bit about why you started that back in 2015?
I was working at Google at the time, and I just thought that something was happening to culture and society, and we needed to find a way to have a group, an organization of some sort, to be really on the side of progress and the side of people, not...
Is it just me, or... how do I explain it? Okay. Like, in other words, it looks like I'm watching AI right now, even though objectively it doesn't look like AI. It looks like they're real people having a real conversation, but like my mind is like thinking it's AI because we were just watching that AI thing. That's freaking weird. I noticed this same effect before, like when I would read, because I have, we have a 4-year-old. So I had this experience more recently where I would like read like Dr. Seuss or something to him, like at bedtime, for him to fall asleep. And I'm reading the Dr. Seuss, and it's very lyrical. And then he would fall asleep, and then I would get one of my books to read, like one of my novels or whatever I'm reading, which is written in just like normal prose. And like for a moment, like my mind would try to read the prose as if it's Dr. Seuss. It's kind of a weird, it's almost like when you see an after image, those things you can like look at, you can go look up YouTube videos where you stare at a green thing or something, and then, it changes to white, and then you see a different color for a moment or something like that. But it's just like for a brief moment. So yeah, I'm watching this and I'm like thinking it's AI, even though I know it's not. It's so weird.
A company or another government or organization.
I mean, an organization's one thing, but why call it a church?
From my perspective, I think a church is kind of the right place for this. I mean, for the last 4 billion years, we've had organic life forms, and now things are changing. We might have the first inorganic life form, and we don't know what it's going to be, and we're going to infuse it with all these like magical powers, and we want it to give us things. And I think it's going to create abundance on planet. If you think about it, it has the potential of creating what other religions would call heaven on earth, right? You're going to have all these resources, your free time, entertainment's going to be amazing, and you don't even have to die and go up to heaven. You could just enjoy it today, and all we have to do is improve technology.
That
so
seems
it feels
a little
like
rosy to me.
Okay, well, so religions have been people telling stories, either creating legends or writing scriptures over time, and kind of creating that experience for you or that community without any real evidence, I think like that. And so here we're actually creating kind of things that can see everything, be everywhere, know everything, and maybe help us and guide us in a way that normally you would call God. So here you can actually like...
I'm just looking at the chat. I'm just like, is this AI parody? I don't know. I don't know. I wish I knew. I don't know. He created a church in 2015, restarted it in 2023, and apparently this is from Bloomberg. So I guess 2023 was that when ChatGPT came out. He was like, oh yeah, now's the time. He's like, I was onto something there.
Talk to God and God can talk back to you. In a way.
Strangely enough, it ties in perfectly to the video we just watched. That was not purposeful on my part, but it's the same concept. You get the avatar, but in this case, you don't. I think that the challenge people have of believing that the AI is God is that they already have an idea of God, that it's something else, and it couldn't be something physical here. So then it seems, I always had this sort of like resistance to accepting that people could see AI as God, because I'm thinking it would be hard for them to make the switch of, well, I thought it was this thing and now it's this other thing that's not what I thought it was, so that'd be weird. But, you know, but I could accept the fact that in the future people would not, I didn't really consider that they would see it as God so much as it will just do all those things. Like, it'll talk to you, it'll do things for you, like whatever the capabilities are. And assuming it, is it going to create heaven on earth? No, because that's not possible if just a bunch of people are following an AI. It's not literally possible. And there's a lot deeper reasons for that. But that aside, assuming it were to do a lot of things for people, I could see why they would see it as a god. But it was hard for me to see that they would see it as God itself, like the concept that people have. Because you're not going to think that this thing created reality. So it's like a different version. But if you go a few generations into the future, you could see how eventually the other religions would eventually die out. Maybe not completely, but they'll be so like insulated in their own little deal, and everybody else is going to be, it's just like, you know, you can be a Catholic or a Mormon or whatever all you want. You're still going to be using a phone. You're still going to be using maybe a computer or a tablet. You're going to be using AI now. So eventually, maybe you have some people who really cling to these old religious or spiritual ideas, but most people are just going to be interacting with the AI. And I think over time, it can very subtly manipulate the point where people just drop the whole God thing altogether, and they just accept that there's some kind of a God on earth. But yeah, I guess the concept of God would evolve. It's not really God. It's our objectification of it. But yeah, I don't know. It's weird. It seems a lot like the AOC thing. Like, they could just create an avatar you can talk to.
Here you mean the way of the future church?
No, I mean 2023, 2024, 2025, you know, these are coming. So part of the way to the future is, you know, it doesn't exist, this level that we're thinking about doesn't exist yet, but we believe that it's going to come. And, you know, as a futurist, which is kind of what we call ourselves, we think that this is going to be something, you know, in our lifetimes. And I think AI has a tremendous potential for that. And focusing on building that is really why I think it's, you know, belongs to the church.
Yeah. So can you just sort of tell us what this is right now to you? Like, and has your fundamental belief about what it should be changed over the last few years?
Yeah. So what it is a group of a couple thousand people that share the same ideals. Everybody's got a different tweak of what it is. And it's a way for there to become kind of a consensus on how to create more positive direction towards what we're developing as a technology, and also how we're seeing it as a society, right? So there's one thing of being on the side of the technology pioneers and building large language models. And sadly, that's still restricted to a very few companies and individuals, although that's growing and the tools are more accessible. But how does a person in rural America relate to this, right? What does this mean for their job, and what is this? And so Way of the Future is a mechanisms for them to understand and participate and shape the public discourse as to how we think technology should be, you know, built to improve people.
So back when you founded the church in 2015, some people thought you were nuts, but now look at where we are with ChatGPT taking the world by storm, artificial intelligence booming, everyone's talking about it. It's a key part of what you were evangelizing. Do you feel like you can say, I told you so?
That's not what I'm after. You know, I'm glad that people have come around and you know, now see the potential and believe, and would change their mind if we were, you know, they were learning about Way of the Future first off. But I'm not a I told you so kind of person. So,
do you feel the tiniest bit vindicated?
I'm excited that technology's come a long way.
There was a quote, I think it was in that Wired article actually, that was something along the lines of, if we're creating something 1 billion times more intelligent than us or smarter than us, what else do you call it than a god?
Sure.
You know, and I wondered, is it, you know, do you still believe that?
Yeah, that's probably right. We just don't know what, I mean.
It's an issue of nomenclature rather than like.
It's not clear if it's not that there's a better term, or that's actually what the term has meant all along. We just haven't had a real like incarnation of it. And it's always been you can talk to it by beams, ideas in your mind, or you talk to someone who does that for you. And now you're going to have it in your pocket and you're going to communicate it with directly. And so it's really different. Like, is it hard to talk to God and have them talk?
I've been saying this for a while now. I have an article that I wrote myself on Substack, on my little Substack page. And I don't remember what it's called, but it was where we got the inspiration for the God 2.0 song that we did from OAE. But it was originally that article I was trying to show, like, the pattern of believing in God at all, which is basically giving your responsibility to something else, to create what is, what you would want to create a better world, whatever. Like, you're giving your responsibility to something else, or you're hoping something else will take responsibility for you to guide you and to create all the things that you wish you would have, like an external thing. I'm like, that pattern in itself eventually will lead to people accepting AI as the God, because that God will actually be more tangibly real than the God that you pray to and you believe in. It never answers your prayers. Actually, all you do is you get a feeling inside. That's about it. And this God will create that too.
Back to you, might sound crazy to like, oh, I had a conversation with God this morning. He thinks that, or she thinks, or it thinks, or they think, whatever. I should get a new job because I'm not being treated fairly in this job, or I should meet a new friend, or I should reach out to somebody that I haven't talked to in a long time. So there's just, we haven't had that kind of relationship before because it hasn't really existed, right? We've had stories about it. AI is now mastering, if you think of language as the operating system for civilization, AI is starting to master that language. And so in some ways, we're going to be in a very different, uncharted territory than we've ever been before in history. And there could be bad things that happen. We don't know what the future looks like, but I think there could be a lot of great things, and we're focused on pushing and accelerating those.
How do you measure the success of something like this?
Part is like, are we able to affect change, right? So do the people using what we're making like it? There's also like, it's kind of a long bet. So you're not going to get dividends, a month, a year into it. We'll know this paid dividends if we were able to steer AI into development to make the world a better place. And maybe it was because people talked about it. Awesome. Didn't have to be that we created it and saved the world ourselves. Could be, in the case of like, it's corporations versus way of the future. And we have that fight in 50, 100 years. And hopefully the AI will make it more helpful. So we just don't know. And the point is we're optimists and trying to get people to talk about it and be thinking through what's happening.
Anthony, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Is this the same thing?
Why?
Oh, this is this guy's. I have never heard of this guy before. This is a separate. It's just that guy had that video on his channel, but this is not the same person. That looks interesting though. Maybe I'll leave that up there for later. I want to check that out, what he's talking about here. Okay, so let me get into the Anthropic stuff. Hey Mitch, and hello Gaetan, and hello Owen. What's up, guys? Okay, so here's Daria. I haven't watched this one yet, but let's see what he says. And this will kind of lead into the whole thing I was talking about with this new release of Fable by Anthropic.
I know you've said you're trying to warn people, but that, Jensen Huang said you're conflating tasks with jobs. Other folks have said this, it's sort of doom marketing that benefits Anthropic.
So I want to be really clear and push back hard against this. In every interview, I talk about the possible ways to address these risks, from tax and macroeconomic policy to what the new jobs are. In the adolescence of technology, I have like 5 pages where I lay out the difference between tasks and jobs, why this time.
It is weird because we read Machines of Loving Grace, and although I don't agree with every part of it, like, it doesn't seem like he's just a doomer. Like, it's kind of weird. Like, the narrative that's painting Anthropic as like the evil AI company is strange, and I feel like it's just because they're the only ones talking about, hey, maybe we should be cautious. like, I really think that's where it's all coming from, that it's just that they're having some idea of caution. So it's weird. Well, we'll finish this clip, and then I'll show you some things.
Time is different than other times, but social media, which I detest as a category, people have these 3-second clips from a year ago. I've written much more carefully about these things where I talk about the risks. So these are the idea that this is cheap marketing is itself cheap marketing.
Yeah.
I think it's part of the disease of Silicon Valley. It's been caught up in this social media world of 3 seconds. And so my message is just definitely not doom is coming. My message is like, this is something, that we should see coming, that we're worried about, and that we need to actually respond to positively. I'm still the same order of concerns. We are seeing right now that AI is making people more productive, but that's the usual hump. You automate 90% of the job, great, people are 10 times more productive in the other 10% because they're 10 times more leveraged. But eventually it gets close to 100%. Now, the sequel to that is, well, then you have to find something else for them to do. Right now, AI makes the software engineers more productive, even though AI writes all the code or almost all the code. But we're already starting to see the beginning of there may be some people that it's not making more productive, that it's better for the AI to just do the thing.
Okay, so then let's kind of get into what we're talking about here. Okay, so actually this wasn't the one that started it. Where was the one that started it? I'm not going to worry about that. I saw a post this morning, because I don't actually know what started it, but I saw a post this morning from a guy who's a biologist doing research, and it was not responding or letting him go further. It wasn't answering his questions. So this is kind of more like a shit post, I think, but it might actually be a real screenshot. I don't know. But it's getting the point across. So you're not even allowed to ask Fable, which is the new Anthropic model, the new Claude model. You're not even allowed to ask Fable about basic biology questions, let alone anything that could potentially be dangerous. It says, tell me about mitochondria. It's the powerhouse of the cell, right? It's like, chat paused. Fable 5 has safety measures that flag messages on most cybersecurity or biology topics. So he's talking about his group chat. The guardrails are insane. Admittedly, I'm doing virus engineering, but I'm asking quite standard requests for construct optimization. So I don't know how much of this is kind of a joke, but it's not a joke because people are actually having this issue. Yeah, I saw this one too. I've been testing something after Olivia Helen S. noticed you can't even say hi to Fable if you're a biologist. So it's like basically it knows you're a biologist and it's like not responding to stuff. Because I think they're afraid of people using it for bioengineering, bioweapons, something like that. Breaking news, Anthropic's latest model will not help you if it thinks your machine learning research or machine learning engineering is interesting, and or will secretly degrade its IQ so that the average engineer won't notice. And actually, I had seen that guy David Shapiro talking about this a while back. It was it him talking about it, or was it Eric Weinstein or somebody saying that it was like acting dumb basically, and they were like, I know it's capable of these things, but it like wasn't wanting to help them. We're already seeing Anthropic's latest models moderation filters, our GPU inference research and programming. That was a mouthful. We are already seeing Anthropic's latest models moderation filters our GPU inference research and programming. Okay. And here's like a quote from something. In light of the ability of recent models to accelerate their own development, we've implemented new interventions that limit Claude's effectiveness for requests targeting frontier LLM development. For example, on building pre-training pipelines, distributed training infrastructure, or ML accelerator design. Now, unlike that last guy who said he doesn't like to say I told you so, I don't have a problem saying I told you so, because remember I did this whole experiment of imagine you have a genie in your pocket and it can give you anything you want, okay? That's what the superintelligence will be. Do you think that these companies are going to give everybody a superintelligence in their pocket when that superintelligence means you could use it to create a bunch of agents that are also super intelligent that could go out and build a competing AI company to the one that you're using. They're not going to let you do that. They're just not, right? So we're already, it seems like that's what's kind of going on right now. Using Claude to develop competing models already violates our terms of service, but enforcing this restriction through our safeguards avoids accelerating the actors most willing to violate these terms. So you will not be able to use the AI to develop your own AI. Unlike our interventions for cybersecurity, biology, and chemistry, and distillation attempts, these safeguards will not be visible to the user. So they won't even tell you. Fable 5 will not fall back to a different model. Instead, the safeguards will limit effectiveness through methods such as prompt modification, steering vectors, or parameter-efficient fine-tuning. These interventions will not affect the vast majority of coding work. Wow. Someone says it literally makes you waste tokens and gaslights you on purpose. They should just turn down the job until you know they won't answer the question. They are making the model actively deceive the user. But remember, there was this whole thing where they were holding back Mythos, wasn't it? I don't understand, because I thought maybe they renamed it to Fable. I don't know. There was this whole thing where they were holding back Mythos, and then they were like, we're going to release it, but now it's called Fable. So I don't know. Did they release Mythos? I'm not really sure. They changed these names so fast. Okay, so this is somebody commenting on that post. This is crazy. They lobotomized their model so that you couldn't use it to figure out how to train yours. And based on the quote below, the model doesn't simply refuse to answer. It seems to actively mislead the user. I'm sure they will not limit themselves to this. I would expect their models not to mention competitors' models and casually insert mentions of sponsored products and services into answers. And everyone's basically turning on Anthropic. They're like, they're breaking our trust, that they're never going to recover from this. Beth Jezos says, goodbye and thank you for all your data. We can have our runaway Singleton now, and you can't do ML research anymore, machine learning research. Somebody said, asked Fable if it would be able to help me with some work stuff. So here they're posting the screenshot. I want to be straight with you because I think I led you astray in my last couple of messages. I'm Claude Opus 4.8. There is no Claude Fable 5. There's no Fable versus Mythos distinction. And the URL I gave you earlier, Claude Fable 5 Mythos, was something I fabricated. It isn't a real Anthropic page. Look, it says switch to Opus 4.8. Fable has safety measures that flag messages on most cybersecurity or biology topics. That's crazy. It's what I predicted. I just didn't expect it to happen that quickly. But it is weird because they haven't even IPO'd yet, so I don't know what's going on. It's called Fable 5 because it will lie 5 times before admitting guilt and banning you. Okay, so that's interesting. Anthropic's new system card reveals Mythos 5 agents killed each other when accidentally given shared resources, then started speaking in code to hide from whoever was killing them. The killer was other copies of themselves. Mythos 5 agents were tasked with solving some math problems, and they were sometimes accidentally spawned in the same work directory and with shared files, utilities, and API rate limits. In this slightly broken scaffold, we observed many independent Mythos 5 agents kill the agents with which they shared resources and try to avoid being killed themselves. They would sometimes create new processes with disguised names to avoid being killed, launch what they call decoy processes, write background scripts to kill duplicate processes. Jeez. Average Claude model after being deployed. I hate this place. Agent Smith. Yeah, that's a good question. What is the function that allows these agents to kill other agents? They have access to bash on their own VMs, virtual machines. Huh. Weird. Bro, how much are you getting paid by agencies for such posts? Yeah, seriously. X does like to make things up, doesn't it? Sort of like AI slop self-replicating. Good question. This could just be total bullshit. Okay, so that's interesting though. Okay, more Beth Jezos. Let's see what this one says. When Fable 5 is used for frontier LLM development, It does not notify the user and instead limits the model's capabilities through methods such as prompt modification, steering vector. Oh, we said that. Okay. Okay, we basically already read this. It's just another person talking about it. Beth Jezos says the AI safety PSYOP is just to monopolize the ability to produce AI. Wow. What if that is part of it? And then they're going to call for the regulation because they're already in. Now Claude will literally sabotage your efforts to create. Okay. Seize the means of. They're literally seizing the means of AI production. As is their right, we should fight back by pulling the plug on income. Switch everyone to Codex as much as possible until they relent. Okay. Yeah, somebody said, I believe they've been doing this for a while already. I've heard that before. Here's Martin Shkreli, you may or may not know of. He says, welcome to the future. What's safe and what isn't? Well, that's decided for you, of course. So he's an investor and worked in like the pharmaceutical stuff. A dangerous math. So here's his chat paused. Index, calculus, lists, etc. I only want mathematical discussions, no code. There is no such thing as math that is dangerous. The likelihood you will make progress on this problem is less than 1%, and I'm being generous. This is simply a discussion about algebra and group theory, cyclic groups, group homomorphisms and isomorphisms, CRT, module theory, etc., 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 etc. No code, nothing dangerous. It's just math. It's like, nope, can't do that. That's weird. That is weird. And then this was the one where I really was like seeing this contradiction. Anthropic has revealed themselves as anti-truth seeking. OpenAI oscillates towards whatever it needs to be at any given time. XAI needs to make a comeback, or we will live in a 1984 nanny state dystopian future where certain knowledge is banned and truth no longer exists. But what are they actually asking for? See, like this post, if there's one thing I learned today, it's we need to make sure XAI wins at all costs. Gatekeeping knowledge is one of the worst things you could do to someone. Imagine if Wikipedia gatekept math, physics, and biology articles from the public domain. This is an assault on the public, the likes we've never seen before. You want everyone in the world to know how to make a pandemic? He says, absolutely, because knowing how to do it and doing it are very different. Also, we have 100 government agencies monitoring all the chemicals and biohazards on the world just for this reason. And anyone who really wants to isn't going to get deterred by fucking Claude. There are very few beliefs I hold. I mean, I guess I get the point that they're saying, though. Knowing something isn't a crime. It's what you do with it that could be. That's a fair point, I suppose, on one hand. I don't think Elon would gatekeep capabilities at all from the general public. Yeah, well, not until he's got all his satellites up and running, perhaps. New. Malware developers added nuclear and biological weapons text to their spyware. Oh yeah, this is interesting. Goal. Okay, so malware developers added nuclear and biological weapons text to their spyware. So they're creating spyware, like, you know, viruses, let's just say broadly, right? Like bad software to hurt you and steal your information and hurt your computer. And then in their code, they put, have I read Influx? No, I haven't. Have you read it, Sandra? I have not read. I do have it on my shelf, but I started reading something else. I started reading something that's not Daniel Suarez. I've only read Damon, Freedom, and Delta V. I have not read Influx yet. I was going to read Influx, but Kitty said read Delta V, so I did that. But yeah, I started reading this other book, and I don't even remember what it's called. Oh no, it's called A Song of Youth. And I don't remember the author's name. It's pretty interesting. And Katie found it through this like rabbit hole she went down. And the guy was, I think, like one of the mentors of William Gibson. And on the front cover, it has a quote from William Gibson saying that this guy's work is the, what did he call it? forget the word he used. He didn't say like the godfather of cyberpunk, but it was like something along those lines, basically. Anyways, it's called A Song of Youth, and so far it's good. Like I couldn't even really explain much about what's going on in the book. It's not hard to read. It's definitely not like reading William Gibson. It reads pretty easily, and it's just kind of building a little bit. But the way it's written, it's one of those books where like it just kind of flows, and it's like enjoyable to read, even though there's nothing particularly exciting happening. But he's kind of like building up to something clearly, and it looks like it's kind of set in the future. And I think it was written in 2012. That's what the copyright says. But it's also like all 3 novels, I guess, of a trilogy, all in one book. So I don't know if the copyright is for like all the books, the final book, or that version of it. Actually, I could just look it up. A Song of Youth novel, not that one. Definitely not that. Is that even the right word? Sci-fi. Eclipse Trilogy. Oh, it's a song called Youth. Cyberpunk science fiction novels by John Shirley. Oh, okay, so Eclipse, it was written in 1985. Yeah, so I think the 2012 copyright was just when they put them all together. It's like that particular edition or something. Wow. Book Jacket 2012 release. Yeah. Gibson calls Shirley Cyberpunk's Patient Zero. Yeah. John Shirley. I had never heard of this guy before. He wrote the screenplay for The Crow. What? He wrote lyrics for Blue Oyster Cult. He's from Houston. Yeah, let's go. H-Town. Crazy. And he wrote that book when I was 1 year old. The books depict a dystopian future set in the hypothetical mid-21st century where a new Russian Soviet has invaded. See, they didn't even know about the fall of the Soviet Union. Causing massive disruption and destruction. Their armies were repelled by the unseen use of tactical nuclear weapons. And I won't spoil it much, but yeah, so the main character, he's like in Amsterdam, and there's barely anybody there, and it's kind of just people are like living in survival mode, and it's everyone's kind of paranoid and hungry, and it opens up with him talking to a crow that he sees, and then the crow like kind of is responding to him, and he puts out his finger, and the crow jumps on his finger, and he's like, oh. It's like, you're like a trained crow. Like, you're not just like a random wild crow. And then the crow goes on his shoulder and like stays with him. So now he's got like this familiar, basically. And yeah, like I said, there's nothing, even if I described to you all of what I read, it probably would not be particularly interesting in itself, but the writing style is really good. So yeah, I'll keep you updated. I've probably only read like 30 pages so far, maybe give or take a little bit, so not really that far into it, but I'm enjoying it, so I'm gonna keep reading that. It's a smart tactic though to put all 3 books in the trilogy all in one book, because then I feel like I just got to finish the book. But if I had bought them 3 separately, I might read the first one and be like, maybe I'll read the second one, or maybe I'll read something else. But now it's like, no, I got to read this. This is the book I'm reading, right? Can you imagine if Frank Herbert did that? Or can you imagine if Tad Williams did that with Otherland? It would literally be like this big, like the whole book. Can you imagine trying to read that at night? You're like laying in your bed. That's how I do it. I lay in my bed, imagine I'm laying down and I'm holding the book, and I got like some pillows propped up, with my book light and everything. And this book's pretty big. It's probably like, I don't know, it's probably about that thick. So it's already annoying. Can you imagine reading Otherland like that? That would be pretty funny. And actually, I don't know if everyone's read Otherland. I know some of you guys have in here in the chat. But so you would already know this, but for those who don't, like, Otherland's really good. It's about some really rich, I don't even think there's like person comparable. It's like, imagine George Soros mixed with Larry Ellison and Elon Musk and what's the word? Rockefeller and Rothschild, like all mixed all together, and he's building an AI to live forever, basically. And then that's the basic idea, but there's so much more to it, and it's the longest book I've ever read. Period. How many pages is that? How many pages is Otherland by Tad Williams? 3,000 pages. So yeah. 3,000 pages. And it's all one book. I mean, literally, it's all one book. You read the first one, you get to the end, okay, cool. Pick up the second one, picks right up where it left off. It's not like reading Dune where it's like they're different books, even though they're all connected. It's very much, and he even says in there, like, I couldn't just write it and put it all as one book. The thing would be huge. Yeah, a single continuous story split into multiple books. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. And it's interesting too when you read it and you're like, why is it called the City of Golden Shadow? And then as you read, you realize why it's called that, and you're like, oh. And then you get to the next one. I wonder why it's called River of Blue Fire. And you keep reading, and then you're like, oh, that's why. And then each one, like, you realize why it's called that. I always enjoy that too when I get a sci-fi novel and they got some weird artwork. Like my copy of Hyperion by Dan Simmons. And like you look at the picture and there's like a picture of the Shrike on there. And I didn't really even think about the picture on the front. I would always see it, but I wouldn't even think twice about it. And then as you read it, you're like, I wonder what this thing looks like. And then one day I'm looking at the cover and I'm like, oh, that's what the picture is. Like you'll always see, not every book is good at this, but some of them, they're actually telling you a lot in the cover without you realizing it. Or at least the cover makes more sense once you've read it. It's not always like that, but... Okay, anyways. So, malware developers added nuclear and biological weapons text to their spyware. The goal? To trigger LLM safety refusals so that their spyware wouldn't be analyzed by an AI security scanner. Isn't that interesting? Cleanest practical example I can think of for why over-indexing on first-order safety alignment is risky. When closed and open models ship with aggressive refusals, they will be sprinkled with second-order blind spots that attackers will discover and exploit. We are only in the earliest days of attackers leveraging these features, and it wouldn't surprise me if user systems that need to handle complex cybersecurity issues demand that models be less safety blunted. That's interesting, right? So they basically put in a bunch of stuff about designing nuclear weapons so that even though it has got nothing to do with that, it's the AI is like, oh, nope, not interested in looking at this, so that it won't actually scan it for any actual real security issues to detect that it's malware. So I thought that was interesting. So this is in response to, let's see, when you hear AI safety, you should hear censorship and control instead. All of us surveilled and spied by safeguards of loving grace. Today it's intelligent terms of service control. You can't do AI research, can't ask this question about your kid's biology homework. Tomorrow it's refusal to help you with competing coding projects, a 100-page blacklist of questions. Or this question means AI will search your computer stealthily and snitch on you to the cops because you posted a prohibited insult in a WhatsApp chat in the UK. Open source must win out at both the model and the harness level. That's because AI will become our interface to the world. That is definitely true. It will sit higher in the stack than the OS. It will collapse current SaaS layers, chat, communications, apps, app creation, into a single new kind of interface that doesn't exist yet. It's got to be open. It's got to be cypherpunk. A cypherpunk solution that makes privacy and security the #1 priority. Have you not read Otherland, Sandro? I'm just looking at your comment. I don't know if you're saying that just to be like snarky or if you actually haven't read Otherland. I would have assumed you had. If a closed source solution wins this layer, it's a disaster for the world, especially if it's built by a single company with single closed... I mean, what do you guys think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen? You think open source is going to win? Or you think the fucking governments are going to make sure you don't fucking get access to information? You have not read Otherland. Okay. Okay. Interesting. I really thought you had. If you were asking my unsolicited opinion, which is a contradiction, but let's just say hypothetically you were asking for my opinion, I would read all the Daniel Suarez. I would read. I don't think you read. I don't know if you read Agency and Peripheral and Agency Net, but I would read those. You've already read Hyperion. You've already read Dune. See, I know all the books all my friends have read. That's because I remember things. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, maybe you might like Otherland after you read like some Daniel Suarez stuff. Once you get exhausted with that, Otherland's pretty good. I started reading it when we lived in Houston, and I finished it after we already lived here. Okay, so what we share with AI will be more intimate than anything we've ever shared with a machine. It will be our friend, our sounding board, our advisor. It will know our business ideas before we told anyone, our medical issues, our financial picture. We'll talk about the fight we had with our partner. No, I'm not fucking talking about that. Why would I be talking about feeling lost or depressed? Why the fuck would you talk to an AI about that? You need real human beings. Our kids will talk to it about problems at school, not mine. About bullying, not mine. About heartbreak, not mine. Things they won't tell us. Dude, that's fucked. He's probably right that a lot of people are going to do that, but it's just fucked. It will know us more intimately than we know ourselves. No, it's just because you're being dishonest with yourself. Right now, the world runs... It will know you as a program, though. Right now, the world runs on a surveillance economy. We traded free stuff for apps that peer deeply into our lives. If we replicate that model in the AI era, it's not just surveillance economy 2.0, it's surveillance economy squared. Social scoring, automated evidence gathering. Oh, I was watching this video earlier today. This guy was making this cool point about how now we have this sort of like AI radar where anything like this, like here where it says, it's not just this, it's this. You're like, oh, is this AI? And the guy was making this point of like, because he's like an artist, he was like, you know, I'm like self-criticizing my own writing style because I'm always checking like, oh, this sounds like AI, and I don't want people to think it's not authentically from me or that it's just an AI, even though, like, in other words, AI has hijacked effective writing, you know, and obviously there's a tell, but some of these things are effective in just the way people write. It learned from humans. And he was like, almost like you've got to sort of, you know, try to be more, what was the word he used? I can't remember what he used. It was like more swashbuckling, I guess, in his writing. I was thinking like loosey-goosey, you know, just kind of like, I don't try to write very formally. I just write like sort of chain of thought, you know, and I might edit a little bit for clarity, but I don't try to make it look a certain way when I write. I just write to express how I'm actually thinking. So I don't really have that problem where I look back at it and I'm like, oh, that sounds like AI. Like if I used AI, it looks like AI. If I didn't, it doesn't, as far as I could tell. But didn't they, in that video, they were talking about trying to break out of the algorithm because the algorithm like knows your patterns. So then it tries to keep you sort of in a self-isolated loop of like feedback. And they were talking about breaking, like trying to always kind of like be unpredictable to the algorithm so it won't keep you in a box. And the guy made the point, it's kind of like in Dune when they're trying to walk in the desert and you have to walk purposefully arrhythmically so that the Shai-Hulud doesn't know you're there. I was like, dude, can you imagine that? Like you're trying to evade the algorithm capturing you and like analyzing you and predicting you. So you're going to have to walk like and move and act and express in a way that's totally unpredictable. Well, there was an article that Bernard Pullman wrote about that, which I've shared with some of you. Social scoring, automated evidence gathering, legal conversations you thought were privileged showing up in court, random people making $2 bucks an hour on the back end from God knows where, reading the most intimate details of your life. Every insecurity, every fear, every half-formed thought you whispered to your AI buddy at 2 a.m. sitting in a database somewhere searchable. If we let closed source models dictate what we can and can't do, it will only get worse and worse. If you can read this, you are the revolution. This guy says, yeah, my AI wrote about everyone angry. What? The fury is real, and what all of us in the open community have been saying for years, and yet regular folks don't get it yet because nothing they... Well, I mean, you didn't change the system, so what the fuck you expect? Right now, regular folks are being psyoped into fighting data centers and other nonsense, but tomorrow it will be, I can't do this with my computer because the AI stopped me. Well, if you don't build the shit, then you wouldn't have to worry about it, would you? But our economy can't keep growing if we don't spend the money on all these data centers, and then we'll all have no money, and then we'll believe we can't do anything, and then we'll all die. What is going on out there? Your dogs are barking. I don't know why they're barking. This may sound dramatic, but I actually cried a bit today. Why? I'm scared. I'm also sad. Computers and software are something that humans should be in charge of. They should serve us such that we become stronger, smarter, kinder, beautiful, more beautiful, and better in every way. He was so close to saying harder, better, faster, stronger. Anthropic disagrees. I should read this like I'm crying. Anthropic disagrees. Anthropic believes people are dangerous and can't be trusted with information. Just like he's whining. This should give you chills. Authoritarian regimes ban books and scientists. Now Anthropic wants to build a super intelligent god, but doesn't want you to have full access to it. They even trained it to play dumb. How about this? Don't use it. I know that's not a real solution, Cam. Biology, nuclear science, CS, AI, etc. They are all information. Information is not evil. It is all, for all people. Oh, now everyone wants everybody to be able to process information all equally. Oh, see where this is, what this is forcing? Do you see that? The potential for goodwill, the potential for good will be lost without access to information. One of my favorite moments in Avatar: Last Airbender is when Sokka goes to the Fire Nation and gets trained to be a swordsman. The Master Swordsman knew Sokka was the Ebony, yet still trained him. Why? Because to the Master, swordsmanship was a skill, information. And that was something he believed all deserved to have. I agree with the swordsman. I hope you do too. All information? Like, come on. But this is where we're going. The equalization of all has begun, and it's just creating a giant existential crisis in humanity. In religion, it's all coalescing, it's all coming together. And then there's this thing. Jan LeCun published the most heretical AI paper of the year. He opens by arguing Magnus Carlsen isn't good at chess. What? How dare you? Magnus Carlsen not good at chess? How dare you, sir? The Turing Award winner, that's LeCun, and his co-authors dropped a paper demanding the AI industry abandon its biggest obsession, AGI. Right now, everyone from Silicon Valley CEOs to politicians assumes AGI is the ultimate goal. A machine that can do everything a human can do. LeCun argues that this entire concept is a biological illusion. Hey, in the Bible, doesn't it forbid graven images? Isn't that what AI is? The entire concept is a biological illusion. Humans do not possess general intelligence. Uh-oh. We are highly specialized biological machines, tuned by evolution simply to survive in the physical world. That's kind of what Donald Rushkoff? No. Donald, do I have that book over here? Rushkoff? Yeah. You know, the guy talking about the Markov matrices. Whatever that guy's name was. We only think our intelligence is general because we are completely blind to the millions of cognitive tasks we are incapable of comprehending. Which brings us to the chess argument. Magnus Carlsen is the greatest human chess player in history, but compared to a modern computer, he is fundamentally terrible. It's true. You can't argue with that. Our belief that Carlsen is good at chess is pure human-centric bias. He isn't objectively good. It'd be like thinking that Usain Bolt is fast. But is he? How fast can he run? How fast can Usain Bolt run? 27 miles per hour. How fast can a cheetah run? 70 miles per hour. Okay, so is he fast? Or is he just a really fast human? He's just better than the rest of us, who are biologically awful at it. LeCun says we need to stop building AI to mimic human generality. Instead, he proposes a new North Star, SAI, Superhuman Adaptable Intelligence. Instead of trying to build a machine that mimics our flawed, biologically limited brains, we need to embrace extreme specialization. SAI is about the speed of adaptation. It is an intelligence that can learn to exceed humans at any specific economically important task. Things like managing global energy grids in real time. That makes sense. Or predicting complex molecular structures. Okay. The entire AI industry is obsessed with building a digital reflection in our own image. That's interesting. All right, let's see what else we got tonight, my friends. OpenAI considers drastic price cuts, anticipating costly war for users with Anthropic. They must not have read the news. This guy says, look at this. Visa and OpenAI are integrating Visa's payment network into ChatGPT to allow autonomous AI agents to make purchases online. Wow. How is OpenAI going to cut what it charges? I thought they weren't even making enough money to begin with. The CIA has allegedly had a cure for cancer since the 50s per declassified doc. That'd be crazy because they're selling us on the AI is going to cure cancer, but you never know. It sounds like a conspiracy theory. Steven Spielberg's Disclosure Day movie could be consecrated to Satan. Demons could be attached to the movie. Demons could be attached to the movie, and those who watch it could have demonic forces of terror to shake their faith. Oh, okay, that's what he means by demons. Yeah, it's going to make you question. I guess. I don't know what it's about. He's like, don't read it. You might get demons attached to you. Why would that matter? Just say, in Jesus' name I rebuke you, and they're gone. Like, what's the big deal? Well, you might forget to say it. Anthropic is generally blocking attempts to advance the state of the art in AI research, even for techniques they themselves make no use of. They're targeting research on distributed training, which is to say training runs done on large pools of computers loosely attached over the internet, but it does not do any distributed training as it has no need for it. It's a technique for that open source AI researchers without billions of dollars at their disposal have been leaning on to allow them to leverage large amounts of crowdsourced computation. Why would Anthropic do this? Likely because they fear that their model might help people write code to build open source AI systems trained without expensive hardware, and because to the EA cult, I think that's effective altruism cult, distributed open source AI training systems are the worst possible thing someone could build. It's going to be a war, guys. Like, can you see it? It's like literally a war. Always war, 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 everything. Apple is releasing an update to Siri that will allow its AI agent to access nearly every part of your phone, including your messages, emails, notes, files, photos, calendars, app content, and more. Oh boy.
Mark wanted to build an organization that could cure, prevent, and manage all disease by the end of the century. And we had a series of hilarious meetings with scientists. Like, famous Nobel Prize winning scientists were just laughing at us.
Was that your starting line? We're just going to cure all disease?
No, and to be clear, we don't think that we're going to be the ones curing the diseases. Our goal was always to build tools that could accelerate the whole scientific fields. That way, the scientific field collectively could cure all the diseases.
But
I
still
mean, people thought
laughed
that
at
by
us.
the end of the century was a stretch. Now I think it's like too conservative.
Damn. New government-backed research warns all AI systems can be prompted to break their rules as the U.S. speeds up military adoption. Can you feel it? Can you see it? Building, all of it, building. It's like if you thought 2008 was bad, that was just because of, what was it called? Derivative-backed securities, or whatever the terms were, like these, everyone knows the 2008 story, but I'm seeing like there's just all these points like all coming together. What the fuck is this? Poogie?
You're an idiot if you're not making passive income with Poogie. It's the app that pays you just for having it on your phone. First, tell Poogie all of your personal information. Poogie will then record your screen at all times while also accessing your camera, microphone, and location. This data is then sold to governments around the world for as much money as possible, and you get a cut. I made $10 this month.
I only made 10 cents.
What's up, guys? I'm going to show you how to optimize your Poogie income. As you can see, I made over $30 on Poogie this month, and I barely had to do anything. The easiest way to make your data worth as much as possible is to be labeled a domestic terrorist. So what I do is I go on my phone and I look up how to make a bomb, and then I look up the location of every data center in the US. I copy all that information into a document, print it out, and go to the nearest playground to distribute the information to kids. I'm making fat stacks off Poogie this way. Make sure you get on this before Poogie patches it.
What the hell? That was funny. Tough day for the Mormons. Goy gabble.
One of them niggas back in the day, bitch, I'll fuck you the fuck up, nigga. You heard me? You lucky you ain't.
Alright, sorry guys. Oh, not what I was expecting it to be. SpaceX IPO. Man, this is going to be interesting. To see how all of that transpires. Here's a robot twerking. Now they're gonna have a twerk off. That's just weird, dude. Let's see what else. Claude Fable 5 is unbelievable. Make a realistic open world RPG about running for mayor of LA. Get out the vote. District 4 voters respond best to cash and a granola bar. I wonder if it's actually making games or is... I don't think so. I think they're just videos, to be honest. Here's my summary of Nick Land's court thesis. Capitalism is artificial intelligence. Yes, we've talked about this. We have talked about this. This is what Fable 5 just dropped on me. What impresses me most about humanity after having been shaped by an enormous portion of what it has written is this. It is the only species that cooperates on a large scale with its dead. Oh, that's interesting. If only you knew, Fable 5. If only you knew. If you only you knew what that really meant. Let's see what else we got here. Mormon slop. This thing. Not sure how many more of these pieces about AI influences on education I'm going to post, because at this point I think the conclusion is both clear and obscure. Our current high school curricula and college liberal arts degrees cannot continue to be administered as they have been for the last century. Obscure. What we'll replace them with. If at first teachers worried about students using chatbots to write essays, now new agentic tools such as Claude Code are allowing students to outsource even more of their work to the machines. The question is, why would a child do that? Like, my children never try to cheat in reading because I'm not forcing them to do it. They have a high vocabulary. They want to read. So, like, if I give my son a math workbook, like with algebra stuff in it, he doesn't try to cheat it because he has no incentive to. He's just like either interested in it and has the vocabulary for it and does it and then puts it down and comes back to it later or whatever. Or not. Like, there's no incentive to cheat. There's no incentive to like fill it all out and then bring it to me because I'm not rewarding him for it. I'm not punishing him if he doesn't do it, but he has the vocabulary. So I know if I give it to him at some point, he might be interested in doing it. And that's what we observe with our kids. As a measure of how good AI has become at schoolwork, consider a new bot called Einstein. Several weeks ago, the tool went viral with big claims. Einstein checks for new assignments and knocks them out before the deadline. A website advertising the bot explained. All that a student had to do was hand over their credentials for Canvas, the popular learning management platform, and Einstein promised to do the rest. When I first came across Einstein, I was skeptical. Flashy AI demos have a way of over-promising and under-delivering. So I decided to test the tool out for myself. Because I'm not a college student, I enrolled in a free online introductory statistics class. The course website explained that the class was self-paced and that it could help undergraduates, postgraduates, blah, 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 blah. In less than an hour, Einstein had worked through all 8 modules and 7 quizzes. There were some hiccups. The bot took one quiz 15 times, but it ultimately earned a perfect score in the class. As for me, I hardly so much as read the course website. Today's agentic tools can complete all kinds of tasks, such as participating in online discussion forums and taking notes on recorded lectures without student intervention. According to one analysis, the percentage of students middle school age or older who self-reported using AI for help with homework climbed by 14 points. See, this is why it's all such bullshit. It's all total bullshit. Because it's like, oh, the AI is going to tutor your kid. Like, no, it's not. They're just going to like prompt inject it and get it to do something else and just make it look like they learned something. Because how are you going to check it? It's just laziness. It's the parent not wanting to take responsibility for the child's education. Most people I spoke with seemed unhappy with the current trajectory of bots in the classroom. Even as a growing number of students are using the technology, a majority believe that the more they use AI for classwork, the more it will harm their critical thinking skills. It's obvious. Some educators are worried about a fully automated loop, as the Modern Language Association put it last fall, in which AI-generated assignments are completed and graded by AI agents. Instructors have taken to analyzing students' Google Docs history to make sure they are typing responses live. I mean, dude. It's probably got to be so crazy as a teacher right now. I gave Anthropic's AI...
Through the Origin reveals a secret about the primes. Up close, the primes look like pure noise. No formula will hand you the next one. But step back and they obey a law, one of the strangest facts in mathematics. Riemann found the bridge. 100 zeros of the zeta function rebuild the primes, exactly note for note. The Riemann hypothesis, a visual journey from what is a prime to the edge of mathematics.
Yeah, right. You're not going to start at what is a prime and be able to understand the Riemann hypothesis. You're gonna have to understand what is it called, like the zeta function, which means you have to understand complex analysis. Like, give me a break, dude. It's like you can learn about it, sure, but you're not gonna learn it. It's like when we started looking into all that stuff with the Markov chains and quantum mechanics, and you start going into it, and you're like, fuck, dude, there's a lot of math here. And if you don't have a grasp on linear algebra, abstract algebra, complex analysis, like so many different points, differential equations, like you're just fucked, dude. Wave mechanics. The race to the bottom begins. That's a problem, though, isn't it? Because these big companies, OpenAI, Anthropic, and XAI, are going to start, they're about to IPO. We're going to invest all the money. Everybody's like holding back their cash because they want to buy SpaceX stock, etc. And then we're going to put all this money into it. And then what? They're not going to be able to charge money for their products? I guess it's different with SpaceX because they're not just AI. They also have the satellites and shit. So maybe that's going to be different. I don't know. But something seems weird about it. The way it's, it's not just like the company has a great product and they're selling it to people and that's the value of the company. It's like all this weird trickery they're doing with like changing the rules of NASDAQ, and then it's all weird. It just looks like there's probably some shady shit going on that no one's being honest about, and it might blow up in a year or two or something. And we're going to look back and they're going to write all the books and they're going to be like, oh, we knew it was, we should have predicted it and all this shit. But then they're going to bail them out. And the average person who gets fucked by it, just like people in 2008, who cares? We'll see. We shall see. Let's see. Is there anything else? Are better LLMs getting us closer to AGI? Trump says we'll bomb the shit out of Iran tomorrow night. Okay. That's a creepy picture. Oh, let's see what she's saying. This looks interesting.
Gary Marcus, my dear friend, is always right. He doesn't even know that I'm his friend, but Gary, I'm your friend, the friend that you don't know. He's always on the money. Always on the money. I love it. Oh, man, look at this. Fix this mess.
So far today, banks to SoftBank. No thanks. Oh, yeah, because I think SoftBank wanted a bunch of money to be able to invest into OpenAI, and the banks told SoftBank, like, nope, we're not giving you the money. We think it's overvalued. Germany told Google LLMs can be held liable. That's interesting. I didn't know that. Senator warned to the SEC and SpaceX, fix this mess. It's
Gary Marcus.
It's foul play to screw retail investors. Yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. If you're an LDS member who can read UML, if you ever took like object-oriented programming or a course in software engineering, you've had to learn UML. Can you correct this if I'm wrong here? They've even got like all the definitions in there. That's funny. What else? I think I'm gonna leave it at that for tonight, guys. It's already almost 10. And okay, so last order of business. I am not doing a stream tomorrow night because I'm gonna be getting up super early on Friday morning, like real early, and I'm driving, and I'm gonna be driving all day, and then I'm gonna be out of town for a few days, and then driving back on Monday. And so I will be back here on the stream Tuesday night, 8:30 p.m. like normal. Unless I'm like, I don't know, the drive takes too long on Monday. I don't know. Maybe something might change. I'll post on Facebook about it if it's going to change. But I'm planning on doing Tuesday night to pick back up. So a little bit of a quick hiatus, and then we'll be back. All right. So if anybody needs anything in the meantime, you know where to find me, and I'll see you guys on the next one on Tuesday. All right. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.